Time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
Welcome into our Tuesday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. Philip Pilkington and Dom Kasulki here filling in for the P-Man as PJ is calling a game with ECU pitcher alum Danny Beal. They are out at Jack Coombs Field right now in Durham calling Duke and Davidson. We are leading you into network coverage of East Carolina and UNC Wilmington as part of the ECU Sports Network. Dylan Johnson and Coach O, Dr. Gary Overton, will be on the call for that. Speaking of Dylan Johnson, Dylan, you got a full day of radio ahead of you, and it starts right now. How's it going, Dylan?
I'm doing good, Pilk. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's a Pirate baseball day. The weather's beautiful. I think if this is a 3.5 hour game, it's going to be 68 degrees when the game ends. I mean, hey, baby, this is perfect weather. We're not going to be sweating our backsides off, and we're not going to be freezing cold either. So I don't know how the world could get any better.
No, I mean, where else would you rather be? And, to top it all off for me, I get to be back in Greenville and at Clark LeClaire Stadium as opposed to where I have most recently been.
You know what? Story time. I'm putting you on the spot. So you were in like a broom cupboard or something, and it was like you and both teams' managers? Is that what it was?
It was, kind of like a side room. I mean, so there was like a door we could shut from the main press box area where like the PA announcer would be and the SIDs. And then I was next to Cayman, kind of running the analytics for ECU, and then UTSA's same person who runs the analytics for them, running the TrackMan and stuff. So it was the three of us in this room there together. We were all kind of on top of each other. But, I was indoors, which I was kind of halfway expecting to be outside. So that was kind of a win. They did actually feed us the first day we were there. So not all bad, but pretty cramped quarters. Not what Coach O and I get to have at Clark LeClaire for sure.
No, definitely not. I will say I was worried about you guys Friday. So I had, ironically, opened TikTok Friday morning and got a TikTok of this lady going, you live in Western Texas. When the morning after a tornado warning, you go out on your front porch and wave to your neighbor who's on their front porch and go, we survived another one. And with the camera blowing in center field on Friday night's broadcast, where us, the viewing audience, could not see a thing, and the whipping of the jerseys and how bad I've heard this press box is, I was like, is Dylan going to blow away? Was the press box like held together by like shoestrings and, chewed up bubble gum, or was it actually like decently like nice, like, structured?
Decently nice. It's better than from what I was told it was a couple years ago, and I think there was kind of like under construction then. So it's better now than what it was 2 years ago. So I didn't worry about being blown over, but that wind was ridiculous, and I didn't know if it was something like the audience would be able to hear who was listening along, but at least in my headset, because the mic sticking out for the crowd, I was just like, this is picking up so much wind right now. Like, this is insane. Literally every fly ball hit that night was like, would go up and it's just going like all over the place. I mean, Walker Barrett hits a ball harder than he's ever has at ECU, probably even more than like kind of his famous Clearwater home runs, and didn't even make the warning track. So that was the kind of night it was.
Yeah, it was funny. I remember the pregame interview the next day. Cliff had joked with you about that, mentioning that he had brought that up to Walker. Like, well, it was the hardest ball you've ever hit. I mean, not much more you could do. So, yeah, let's talk about the series, Dylan. And, this past week, 1-3, which is frustrating. Getting walked off twice, frustrating. The fact that you're 52 in RPI, and if you don't lose those two games, you're in the upper 30s, frustrating. The good news is, Dylan, I think this team is still right there. I think an at-large bid with an RPI 52, and with some of these teams coming up like Charlotte, who is 64, like South Florida, who is 38, the fact that you're going to see State 2 more times, you're going to see Duke again, Duke's RPI continuing to rise. I think it's there, and I think the vibes with the team are good. It's just you are what your record says you are. I get that, but it just seems like there's been a few things of recent not go the Pirates' way, and hopefully the law of averages will allow them to somewhat go the Pirates' way here coming up soon.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Getting walked off twice in the same week just kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth, I'm sure. But, it's not as bad as perhaps is being made out to be, like you said. I mean, they're right on the verge there of a top 50 RPI. And even some of the teams who you didn't name there who are kind of like better than you would expect, like UNCW, who we play tonight, right? They're at 82 in RPI when I checked this morning because they've gone 11-3 since we beat them in Wilmington a few weeks back. Campbell, of all teams, is a top 100 RPI team. They're 94 because they're 18-9 on the year, just like UNCW is, and they've also put together actually better than expected baseball since we lost to them back in Bowie's Creek the first or second week of the season there. So there's plenty of chances left in the midweek. I do understand that the more games you drop here with UTSA, with Duke in kind of disappointing fashion, the margin of error you give yourself for the season gets thinner with each one of those kind of losses. But to act like it's, the season is done now is way premature. There's still a lot of quality opponents left on the schedule, and ECU's got a lot of quality baseball left in them.
They do, and I think in order to play quality baseball, they're going to have to pitch with quality. Obviously, we know that GVK should be back as long as he doesn't, re-aggravate what sounds like a minor injury. Kobe Weber, we do not know as much about. Still fingers crossed maybe he could be back by the end of the season. So, Dylan, piecing this staff together is going to be something that AK and Cliff Godwin are going to have to do. It's something they've done in the past with not working with a lot of starters, and it's just going to be a bunch of guys going to have to step up. But I really loved what Jackson DiLorenzo did this weekend, and this was, D'Lo from 2 years ago. He had a rough season last year, but was pretty effective a couple of years back. And, I think Towers had a bad outing. I'm still high on Ryan Towers. I think that was just a blimp on the radar. So I think there's enough arms down in that bullpen, some of them will have to become starters, obviously. But this is something that can be pieced together. It's something that, as we mentioned, heck, the year we hosted a super regional, we didn't even really have starters. So there's no two guys I trust more in the country than Cliff Godwin and Austin Knight to figure this thing out.
Yeah, right. Even that team, as good as it was, and Cliff telling me it was pretty much just Mayhew, and then we rode it out from there, inning by inning. And so, look, right now, we're still in the process because of losing Weber and GVK really not all that long ago, of trying to move the pieces around and see who is going to fit in which spot. So you end up sometimes with outings like, Antolik didn't pitch up to his capabilities when he got a shot at a Sunday start. Towers didn't pitch up to his capabilities there this weekend against UTSA after, you're right, he had been really good against Elon, ODU, even the one inning open kind of against UNCW in Wilmington prior to that, had been pitching really well. And, we may or may not, to this point or for the rest of the year, figure out who's going to be what. There might not solidify until VK is back. All right, Towers is now doing Saturdays and Tolik Sundays or what have you. Guys might continue to get moved around, but they're going to roll with who's working, like who's showing it in results, like Jackson DiLorenzo, where you heard Cliff Godwin tell Stephen Igo yesterday that, you will see him more often because of the way he pitched there. But I will say, Philip, I love his mentality. That's CG in terms of, look, you guys are really good baseball players, and you were recruited to play here at ECU, and you want opportunities to get out there and perform. You've got it. Let's go out there and get the job done.
Yeah, you're not a bum if you got recruited by Cliff Godwin, and not trying to back on other college baseball players, but there is a good point. There is a reason that you are here. This is one of the still premier programs in the country. Speaking of pitching, any word do you know, and I just kind of want your thoughts on how you think they're going to handle this weekend. So historically, when you get the Easter holiday, which credit to the American Conference for giving us Sunday off, they bump everything up a week. You just bump your Friday guy to Thursday. You bump your Saturday guy to Friday and your Sunday guy to Saturday. With that being said, there's only one true starter right now for the East Carolina Pirates, and, these guys are used to pitching on a full week's rest. Do you think there's a chance that Ethan Norby stays in the Friday today this week instead of on the Friday night roll, which would be on Thursday, just to kind of keep it in a more traditional, or do you think he's definitely going Thursday?
Now, this will be, just speculation on my part because I haven't gotten an indication from the coaches yet on what they would want to do. I know they're focused on UNC tonight before we even roll into the weekend with Charlotte, but is there a chance? Absolutely, that you could see Norby on Thursday or Friday. Just because of what we talked about, there's still not really a solidified two other starters behind him yet with VK and Weber going down. So I think it would be more difficult to keep him in Friday if you had also VK or Weber, because then no matter what, somebody's going out of turn and going to have to move up days. But now you've got different options of guys where you're still trying to find who's going to be the starter moving forward. And you've got some guys like, Nick Moran, whatever, he didn't pitch this weekend. You guys have tossed out like Frank Saccone's capable. Well, Towers threw minimal pitches, and Tolik didn't throw. So I think because you've got some pieces who haven't locked down a starter role yet, that makes it more likely in my mind, or more possible, that you could see Norby stay on Friday, because whoever you're going to throw on Thursday, maybe it's somebody who didn't throw this past weekend. So you're not really facing that situation where, we've got to move a guy up, he's pitching on short rest. Having said that, I don't know yet. Norby could throw Thursday or Friday, and I wouldn't be surprised.
And not to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to do it anyways. What are friends for? Nick Moran, you mentioned he didn't throw. Is he still doing a little arm soreness, or do you know? Is there anything you can report on that?
I don't know. I don't have any indication as to whether or not Nick Moran didn't pitch because of any kind of arm soreness or just coaching decision.
Okay, gotcha. Because I know he had, a couple weeks ago had been dealing with a little bit. Sometimes when your arm gets sore this time of year, it's tough to get that out, so we do understand that. All righty, tonight, Dylan, it is the Seahawks of UNCW coming into town. Obviously, East Carolina and UNC Wilmington did meet earlier in the year, as you mentioned, back on March the 4th. East Carolina with a 5-3 victory down at Brooks Field. As you mentioned, the Seahawks 11-3 since then. One of those losses coming to 17th ranked NC State. So they're definitely a good team. What can you give us as a scouting report on the Seahawks?
Look, this is a much better team. I think they've been playing a lot better baseball since we saw them just as recently as March 4th. This is a team that, Coach O, who is constantly keeping track of scores around the country and how teams are doing, especially teams we're going to see on the schedule coming up later in the year. And UNCW is a team that he's thrown out to me a couple times over the last 2 or 3 weekends, and he's like, Dylan, UNCW is playing really good, like, since we played them. And Randy Hood is that team has stepped it up a notch. So, you look just from a team stat-wise, again, the schedules we play there's an obvious difference there, but they're hitting .292 as a team. Their pitching ERA as a team is under 3.5. I want to say it's like 3.38 or something like that. Last I checked. So this is a team that's playing good baseball in all facets of the game. It was a close one, 5-3 when we played them March 4th, like you said. It's just about always a close one with UNCW, so I wouldn't expect anything other than, a tight competitive game tonight here in Greenville.
Well, we thank you for your time, Dylan. We're going to give you a little rest as we only have a 45-minute edition of the Patrick Johnson Show here today, and then it's leading right into your network coverage of East Carolina and UNC Wilmington. So we'll let you finish up your game prep. Thank you for joining us, and we will hear you here in about 31 minutes.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, and everybody come hang out with Coach O and me on 94.3.
And if you're outside the listening area, reminder, the IBX Media app or 943thegame.com is where you can hear Dylan and Coach O tonight. That will do it for our first segment here of the Patrick Johnson Show. We will be back, Dom and I, talking a little more of the Pirates and the Seahawks next, as Dom is a Wilmington native, so we're going to make fun of him for that. Still to come on the Patrick Johnson Show.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. 2 real burgers, better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
We're back to the show.
I missed you. I missed you. Did you miss us?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into the Patrick Johnson Show as we lead you into network coverage of East Carolina and UNC Wilmington on the diamond. Dylan Johnson and Coach O will be on the call for that. We were just joined by the voice of the Pirates, Dylan Johnson. We thank him for his time as he is preparing for tonight's contest. Philip Pilkington and Dom Kasolke here filling in for the P-Man as P-Man is currently in Durham calling Duke and Davidson. The Pirate fans, I think rightfully, Dom, a little frustrated with the last week.
100%.
However, I think we will have a better mood of Pirate fans than what Patrick is probably dealing with right now in Durham.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I know you're feeling it right now.
Still feeling it, yeah.
You'll be feeling it for a long time because that's going to be on a montage for ages. It's how UNC fans feel about that Villanova shot, although that was a championship game, but that type of shot, it's going to be shown all over the place for ages.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not even mad about the shot. I'm mad about the blown lead. I'm happy with the kid who hit it.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool moment, but I know as a Duke, for you as a Duke fan, it's got to be hard.
It was funny. Steven yesterday, he goes, how long is it going to take you to get over this? I thought he meant like how much longer till I'm not moping around.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, like 2 days. And he's like, dude, it took me. And he meant like how long before I can think about college basketball without being upset. He's like, man, Mariners losing to Game 7 of the Blue Jays. He's like, I was ticked off for like 3 months. So I was like, dang. Okay. But he's like, only when I thought about baseball. I was like, okay, that's fair enough. But,
yeah, he's probably ticked off all over again now that baseball's back.
Hey, man, they beat our
the
guy
Yanks.
Jim Zoki's Guardians the other night, like 8-0.
And they beat the Yanks last night with a walk-off from Cal Raleigh.
Yeah. So,
good to see.
They are beating up on Joey Baseball / Joey Football / Joey Hockey, weather, everything else that he does is Yankees, and he's beating Jim Zoki's Guardians. I don't want to hear anything about Igo being mad about baseball. Our boys are 1-3. I don't know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, we can't bring that up yet. Long season.
Long season. We can get them tonight. I'm still not sold on the Astros. All right, now back to the Pirate baseball thing. So big week, Dom. UNC Wilmington coming in at 18-9. Then Charlotte comes in. Winter is coming. Jaden Winter is on Charlotte now. Thursday through Saturday, they're 18-10. I mean, I think this. Patrick and I kind of hit on this yesterday, Dom. It's like this past week they faced a lot of adversity, a lot of heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
When we look back at the end of the season, we could be like, man, the wheels fell off after that. Or we can be like, wow, that week let a little fire under their rear end, and we got all this success because of that week. So, and I think this is like the perfect schedule to have. Like, you're better than these two teams, but you're not a lot better than these two. These aren't like bum teams.
They're winnable games for sure. It feels like last time I was actually on the show, we had a UNCW midweek game, and then we had Coastal Carolina on the weekend versus a depleted pitching staff from them. And we talked about whether we wanted them to go 2-2 or 3-1, whether we'd be happy with it. Now, I said 2-2 last time. It ended up being 2-2. I wasn't really that happy. Now I'm 100%. We got to go 3-1. We have not. I was looking at the standings of or schedule of our record, and we just have not been able to close out teams that we should be beating series-wise. We've had a lot of close series where we lose the series 1-2. I mean, there's been like 4 series that we've lost 1-2 in the series versus teams that on paper we're definitely better than. And I don't think we've had a sweep all season on a weekend series. I mean, it's ridiculous. We have to get one. So in my mind, it's 4-0 or 3-1 this time, not 3-1 or 2-2. I think for me to be happy, we got to go 4-0. We got to sweep Charlotte. We got to take care of business tonight versus UNCW. And last time we played UNCW, we had Joe Webb and Sean Jenkins pitch really well. And we just had them pitch against UTSA on Sunday, and they're the two that got lit up. I mean, Sean Jenkins came in a tough situation. He got out of it. Later on, he got lit up. It is what it is. We have to rely on him heavily. But they're two of the most used pitchers on our staff. Joe Webb has the most innings pitched out of a bullpen guy, which I don't know if we can even call guys bullpen guys anymore. But it is what it is. So
that's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up. Those are the guys who had success. The tough thing, too, there was the extra day off heading into that last time because it was a Wednesday game. Dom, look, I think I can be okay with 3-1, and it's because GVK and Weber are out.
Fair enough.
And it's not that I don't trust the other guys. I'm not trying to sit here and, throw shade at the other players. What I'm saying is that was, 10, 12? On a good week, 13 to 14 innings that were accounted for. That's what I'm worried about, is how do we account for the 36 innings this week on a tight week? There's guys to do it. Is there guys to get enough of those innings? That's going to be the tough part. That's why if you go out there Saturday, if you start 3-0 and you go out there Saturday and the staff just is exhausted, and you're throwing out there guys that are supposed to be mop-up duty early in the game, and you get beat Saturday, I can live with it. I know I get what you're saying. Haven't had a sweep. It'd be nice to win in the camo hats. Everything you're saying is legit. I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll take 3-1. I guess.
Well, something I did like was, I didn't like the first aspect of this, and the fact is we went down early and were unable to get any offense going against UTSA. That was game 2, I believe. And then in game 3, we went down and we were able to rally back. We actually took a lead. We did blow it, which sucks. But we rallied back. The offense didn't fall over and die just because the pitching wasn't there. So if our offense can continue to rally back in games, which they should be able to do, if our pitching staff needs to be picked up by the offense, let's hope that they can continue to work off that. Even though we lost that game, they were able to, bring it back to a serviceable chance.
That's a good point. I'm just going to be honest. I've questioned when the going gets tough, who steps up for this team. I'm still not really sure who that player is who's going to get in everybody's face. But you go back to the home win against Penn to clinch the series. You look at the game that you mentioned on Sunday. This team has battled back from down in some tough spots. You even think about the game they lost on the walk-off grand slam to Coastal. Like, that game appeared out of reach, and they came back.
Yeah.
Like, the Bats, yes, they haven't been great, but they haven't rolled over. I haven't seen them quit.
Yep.
So the character of these guys is there. The tough thing, I think, though, when you're trying to make these comebacks, God, we need some pop. Now, Mother Nature might have played a little hand in it this weekend because there would have been a couple balls on Friday that would have got out. But between Irby, Barron, Colby, like, we see some balls fly out of the park. Like right now, Linehan's leading the team in home runs. That's great. I'm glad to see a freshman hitting bombs. We have somebody contest him, and it's, gosh, I don't know. Is it something in the water? Softball can't hit home runs. Baseball can't hit home runs. I don't know. You got any eligibility left, Dom? Can you hit home runs?
No.
Okay.
Never good at baseball.
I was okay, but I was not
guy.
a home run hitter. So
I liked what I saw from Colby Wallace in the last game. You know, he stepped up. I feel like he really led the start of the comeback against UTSA. Had a couple of extra base hits, got us back in, got the offense going because it really wasn't going for a while. So that's another thing I like to see from the offense is having a guy later in the order step up. And just to preface, back when I said Joe Webb being the leader in innings pitched out of the bullpen, I guess I'm considering Sean Jenkins a starter, which I really shouldn't have. So Sean Jenkins does have more innings. Just wanted to correct myself there. But to me, it kind of feels like Sean Jenkins is like he comes in after the opener, but he's like a starter. That's how I feel about him.
yeah, it's evolved into that. Yeah, at first I think it's like he was the closer. I mean, even Cliff Godwin a couple weeks ago said he's the closer, and now it's like sometimes you got your opener, and then you got a guy who's supposed to go throw the second through the sixth, and like, is Sean maybe that guy? I don't know. The bottom line is it's going to be. I think he's still going to have to. I'm going to consider him bullpen guy because I think you're going to see him more than once a week.
It kind of feels like he's taking Danny Beal's spot. It feels like Cliff Godwin's going to use him. His arm's going to be used. He's never going to be sitting down doing nothing out there. In those big moments, that's who he's going to trust.
CJ Mayhew, Danny Beal, Wyatt Lunsford, Shinkman. Well, Spivey till he became a starter. There was a lot of times he threw multiple times a weekend. Yeah, I think that's what we're leaning towards here.
Yep.
But hey, there's always one. Sean, tag, you're it. All righty. Let's shift gears a little bit here. We talked a lot of baseball. NFL. The owners' meetings are going on this week in Phoenix. Not a terrible time of the year to be in Arizona. And one of the things on the docket, or I shouldn't say officially on the docket, but is being talked about, is an 18-game regular season. A couple of the owners have spoken about this. The Colts owner has spoken about this. So has Robert Kraft. Kraft said he's in favor of an 18-game regular season on 3 conditions. Removing 1 preseason game, going down to 2. Yeah, I think that's inevitable if you get to 18. Adding a second bye, something that needs to happen. However, we might be playing the Super Bowl during March Madness. And then all 32 teams having 1 international game per year. I think this is stupid. First off, the players were mad that we went from 16 to 17. Show that you care about the athletes. Secondly, I don't love the international stuff, but I think if you're going to do every team's got 1 international game, you should do it when you have an odd number of games. Like right now, you're at 17. Everybody should play 8 home, 8 away, 1 international. Yep. It should be that 17th game, that 5th game against the opposite conference. Because, and you and I were talking about this pre-show, like you're a Vikings fan. Obviously, you don't live in Pennsylvania or Ohio, but for the ones who do, last year, you guys only played the AFC North once every 4 years. You only go to Pittsburgh and Cleveland once every 8, but both those games were played overseas, so those fans got hosed. Therefore, I think it should be that 17th game that gets played overseas, or better yet, it doesn't have to be overseas. I don't have a problem with games in Canada. Heck, take a game to Hawaii and call it an international, even though it's not game, but just to, make it a neutral site game. I mean, 18...
Yeah.
You're going to play 9 at home, 8 away, or vice versa, and then 1 out of the like. What are we doing?
It doesn't really make sense mathematically, but it makes sense for them money-wise, and I think that's why Robert Kraft and a lot of the owners are super big on it. Makes more money. There's more games, can pay the players more, and then you go international and you try to bring in more fans, more money. So I feel like that's really all they're thinking about. The thing I like about it, I don't mind 2 bye weeks. I want to see my team play. But I really feel like injuries in this day and age are as much as they're trying to make it safer, it's getting rough out there, and you're losing a lot of top players. And I feel like those rest weeks, those weeks where you just, I don't know how much they practice, how hard they practice, but they are obviously out there trying to recover during those bye weeks. And I feel like if you have 2 of them in the middle of the year instead of half the teams have bye weeks in week 5 and 6, and then some have them in week 13 and 14. It's like
every year.
It's totally different. So each team has to adjust to that. So if you have 2 bye weeks, I like that adjustment. I'm not a big fan on the international games. I feel like it's just a revenue thing, and they don't prepare the fields like they do here. It doesn't feel like they're totally correct. You saw that. I think it was the Mexico City game. Maybe it was Brazil, the Packers and Eagles, and
oh no, that one was it was Brazil. Yeah,
that was it was messy. It was slippery. The field wasn't prepared well. It was a soccer field. I don't think they're not taking the player safety into it, and they're thinking a lot more about money.
Exactly. The games that are played at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where they put the permanent NFL field under the soccer field, that is going to be good. The NFL made sure that when they built that stadium, that was part of the deal, blah, blah, blah. But to your point where you go to, and let's just call a spade a spade. When you go to these crap third world countries, or their second world countries, like Brazil, where you're already having to take the players in bulletproof SUVs to practice, and then the field's crap, they're doing it, I feel like, for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, just to say that they can. Yeah, I mean, if you got to go out in those type of cars and safety and the players, I feel like it should be an experience for them. If you can't even go out in the town, you can't go explore where you're at. A lot of these players have probably never been there, never been out of the country, and you're going to a place that they can't go anywhere. So if you're going to go international, at least go somewhere that they're going to prepare the field well and that the players can, experience it.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I think we have, people are probably going, you guys have said this before, I know we have, but just the 18 games, if they do go to 18, I think they have to go to 2 byes. I'm with you. I'm not even opposed to the 2 byes anyways, just because how much guys are getting injured. Now, the crazy thing is they practice less than they used to. That was part of that whole collective bargaining agreement that came out in 2011, was they were trying to limit the amount of time they're practicing, so there is less wear and tear on their bodies. I think the difference is now there's no way to make your ligaments or your tendons stronger. They are what they are, but we make our muscles stronger, and I think we're putting more strain on our ligaments and tendons than guys in the 60s were when, after practice they went home and drank a 6-pack of beer and smoked some cigarettes.
Yeah.
You can't pull fat. I think that's part of the problem. We're almost too strong, too fast, too athletic, and that's why all this stuff's popping. But, to your point, there's still wear and tear injuries. And if you got 2 byes, I mean, everybody gets a bye between, what are there, 18 weeks now? Everybody gets a bye, say, between weeks 4 and 9, and then you also have one between weeks 10 and 15.
Yeah, that's how I'd like it.
Yeah.
Although some teams might, I don't know how they do it exactly like that. If some teams, it might be closer byes. You might end up having a bye like week 9 and week 11 or 12. They'd have to figure that one out. That's not for us to figure out, but that wouldn't feel right.
Yeah, you would almost have to make it where or I guess even with the 17 games, if we went to 2 byes, it'd be now 19 weeks. But you almost say you have the first bye week, you almost would also have to have the first bye week of the second half. And then if you had the last bye week of the first half, you get the last bye week of the second half. And if you're in the middle, now the tough thing is you're going to have 6 18s on a bye every week.
Yeah.
It's going to suck for fantasy. And just in general, there's not going to be a lot of games on.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't help the revenue that much itself, but at the same time, they can play, each of those games, and there's certain channels, there's certain slots, and everyone's going to be watching them, so there's more there's less games to watch, but more at the same time for the broadcasting programs.
They're going to like, you know what? You're right. You know who's going to like it? NBC, ESPN,
Fox.
and Prime are going to like
Prime.
it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get the extra. Fox and CBS, they'll get an extra week too. So, yeah, who's going to hate it is going to be YouTube TV. Because there's going to be less need for Sunday Ticket because more of the games will now be regularly available. And they're already losing so many games, Sunday Ticket is.
Yep.
Because you've got the Christmas games. You've got now we're having
Thursday.
a Wednesday and a Thursday game the first week of the season.
I didn't know we're getting a Wednesday one.
Yeah, so they're starting this. So because they want the Super Bowl champions to play the first game, they're starting the season Wednesday night with Seattle.
Okay.
Lifting the banner. And then Thursday night is the Melbourne game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because last year it was Thursday and Friday.
But they want the team coming back from Australia to have more of a time coming back than, Brazil's a lot closer. But I know I'm with you. Just play on Friday. But so that's the deal there. And the other thing is it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, their time that the game's going to be played. But it's going to be played on a weekday. It's going to be played on Friday. So all the more reason, to your point, Dom, they'd have played it Friday night for us. They could have played it Saturday morning their time. But whatever. NFL's
not for us, man. Not for us to decide it. Whatever makes the most money for them.
Do you remember kind of going off the Sunday Ticket being pissed when DirecTV got mad during COVID that a random game got moved to a Tuesday that was supposed to not be like a primetime game? So like all these fans were getting it without paying for Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
And then when that Steelers-Washington game got moved to Monday night at like 5 o'clock, they were like, okay, you can't get it unless you're in one of these local markets or have Sunday Ticket. All these people were like fleeing to bars that had Sunday Ticket at like 5 in the afternoon on a Monday to watch Pittsburgh and Washington play. That was hilarious. But do you remember that? Or am I just
I thought you were talking about the college football YouTube TV. That was actually pretty recently where you couldn't get anything. So that's what I was referring to. But that's pretty funny.
Yeah. DirecTV. When DirecTV still had Sunday Ticket, they were all ticked off. They were like, man, people are supposed to have to pay us for this game, and now you're broadcasting it on over-the-air television. And then the whole Steelers thing happened, and that was when the Steelers were 11-0 and got beaten. I don't think I won a game the rest of the year, but all right, that's besides the point. All right, we do have to get our final break in because we are running short on time. Short show today, leading into East Carolina and UNC Wilmington. So we are going to take a timeout. We'll be back to wrap up this 45-minute edition of the Patrick Johnson Show right after this.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Beep, beep. Move over, Buttercup. We're back to the show.
They're back! And I love them!
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into the Patrick Johnson Show. ECU getting set to take on UNC Wilmington here at the top of the hour. Can't talk. Dylan Johnson and Coach O on the call for that. We'll bring Dom Kosulki back in. Dom, you talking junk to any of your Wilmington friends, family? You're from the area. Is there any going on this week?
From the area, but I don't think any of my friends care about UNCW baseball. Most of my friends are here. We're ECU baseball fans. We've all transitioned. We know ball. We know how to pick our teams correctly.
Are you going to go to the game tonight? I know you had to work this morning. The remote.
It's sleep time for me.
You finally going to go to bed?
No, I'm going to one of them this weekend, but it's time to go to bed. I'll keep up with it.
Yeah,
I'll keep up with the scoreboard as I in my sleep.
You know, my sister went to Charlotte, and like football comes around, she'll like send me a text or we'll talk. Basketball, maybe. I don't even think she like comprehends that Charlotte has a baseball team.
Well, you gotta let her know for this weekend.
Yeah. She's not a baseball fan in general. She's going to watch baseball. She's going to watch the Red Sox. All right,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's all the time we got. Well, thank you to you, Dom. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Thanks, PJ, for letting us fill in. Thanks to Dylan Johnson. Have a great day, everybody. Go Pirates.
Get ready to bring on the savings at Greenville Toyota with major deals on brand new Toyotas like a Camry $229 a month or RAV4 $279 a month. Now